with two brand new foldable phones. Samsung unveiled its highly anticipated Galaxy Z Flip yesterday. The phone's bendable glass screen is the first of its kind.
Technology, where Chinese telecom giant Huawei is losing a challenge it made on the U.S. government's ban that prevents other agencies from dealing with the company.
Janela, it has found that the red planet is very shaky indeed. It's recorded more than 450 Mars quakes. Of course, they don't call them earthquakes out there. They're Mars quakes. 24 of which, Janela, were relatively strong, measuring 3 to 4 on the Richter scale. And they believe that the cause of the quakes is long-term cooling of the planet, which makes it contract, fracturing its brittle outer layers. The quakes more closely resemble what we see on the moon than on Earth, which suggests the Martian crust is more dry and broken up than scientists previously thought.
You've heard of drug-sniffing dogs. You've heard of dolphins trained to carry intel equipment in the water. Carrier pigeons, right? Well, get ready for a new species of spies. There he is. Look at this guy. See that? That's a grasshopper. Wow. Working in the name of national security? Grasshoppers?
Many of us think of insects as pests or something we would only like to see from afar. The Navy has stumbled upon a grasshopper's most valuable asset, and this very asset could even help promote homeland security applications by detecting explosive devices. Researchers at the Washington University in Missouri are studying the olfactory senses of the American grasshopper. The neurons in their antennae can detect chemical odors in the air, and each grasshopper's antennae has roughly 50,000 of these neurons. In the study, the team puffed different explosive materials onto the antennae. Sensors were placed on the grasshopper to monitor neural activity while moving around. In the process, they were decoding the various smells in their environment. Now, since the insects were freely moving around, this required a low-power electronic component to collect, log, and transmit data. The implanted electrodes revealed to scientists the different neurons that were activated when exposed to the explosives. The electrical signals noted a difference in vapors that were explosive and non-explosive. The grasshoppers were able to accurately detect explosives up to 7 hours after the electrodes were implanted. The insects reportedly died after becoming fatigued. The goal of the study is to develop a biohybrid nose. The university's biomedical engineering department received a $750,000 grant from the Office of Naval Research.
This comes a week after Motorola released its new Razr. The Razr is an updated version of the flip phone that was a huge success more than 15 years ago. Some of us remember those.
Yeah.
Dan Ackerman, senior managing editor with our partners at CNET, is here with a first look at the new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip before it hits stores this Friday. Good morning, Dan.
Hey, guys.
And you're going to give me that at the end of this segment.
That's right. Got some fun
Can we
toys
just
for
start off by
everybody.
saying this is so cool?
Yeah, it's really, give us a little demonstration.
It's really interesting. Now, it looks like a regular phone when you hold it up.
Yeah.
But then you go like this, and look at that. The screen bends, and unlike some of the earlier flexible phones, and there have been a couple, the screen is actually made of a type of flexible glass, not plastic.
Yeah.
And that could potentially make it more durable.
And it closes completely.
Closes completely, and then you have something that fits, which is something that people complain about a lot of the big screen phones.
And it takes pictures.
Gigantic.
It takes pictures.
Of course, it takes pictures. Now,
even when it's closed.
When it's closed, this is kind of fun. There's a tiny little display down here. So if I hit this button twice, I get a little tiny camera lens.
Yeah. Right,
if I can
there you
get
go.
you guys right there.
But you got to turn it over that way.
And then if I open it up, and we go into the camera, that's it. Oh, look at that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, look at that. And you can even, that's a fabulous picture of me, by the way.
I know, Anthony, you look like what's
sight unseen. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, right.
All things considered.
It also, even when it's closed, you can see the time, right? And
you can see the time, you can see some notifications. It's not a full screen on the front, but it's a little something. And then if you have the camera open, it knows in some apps that you have it folded. And look, it moves the finder at the top and puts the controls at the bottom. It's almost like a little mini laptop like that.
So there's a lot of buzz.
It's right in your pocket. It's right in your pocket.
I
love it.
As opposed to
which
some
prevents some might note. It prevents some might note butt dialing.
It prevents butt dialing, and it keeps the screen, frankly, safe. I'm paranoid about phone screens. When I see a naked phone with a big screen out, I just get anxiety.
Why is it so expensive? It's $1,400.
It is, but that's not considered expensive for a premium phone anymore. This is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, their other big new phone they announced yesterday, and this is $13.99. And if you get a tricked out about iPhone, it could be closer to $1,400 or $1,500. It used to be $999 was the most expensive phone, and now that's like the entry price for a premium
So
phone.
you think this is going to take off, Dan? Because as you noted, there have been earlier versions of this that kind of bombed.
Did not
I
work.
think we had to get through a couple of generations of the technology first to get something that worked better. And you see, there's moving parts in this, and the hinge and everything. And the nice thing about regular phones is there's almost no moving parts in them, so it's hard for them to break down unless you drop it and crack the screen. So long-term durability, I think we're going to have to get something like this into a lot of people's hands to really test it and see how they can mess it up.
Motorola's Razr also has a bendable screen?
This is actually the Samsung S20 Ultra, which is their other big regular phone.
Okay.
But the Razr has a bendable screen. It's made of plastic, though, and it's a bit more of a retro play. It looks like the old Razr that everybody used to have, the flip.
There it is, yeah.
Got a picture of it there. So why do you think bendable phones are back? Is it psychologically people just don't want to be looking at their phones anymore? They want the experience of shutting it and putting it away?
There's a small niche group of people who really like flip phones, bendable screens or not, because they get rid of a lot of the distractions because you can't put a lot of, apps on the retro style ones. These are just regular Android phones that mimic that mechanism. But I think that people are just burned out on these big slab phones. They all look the same, feel the same, big thing of glass and metal. If you want someone to buy a new phone every year or 2 years, you got to give them something new and interesting. And at least this is new and interesting.
Where a massive protest broke out over the weekend, leading to numerous arrests and disruptions in one of the country's busiest and biggest transport hubs. The protest was led by activists that want free subway rides and no officers patrolling the trains.
Grand Central right before they took to the streets in Midtown and several other stations throughout the city, all in an effort to protest police cracking down on fare jumpers in subway stations.
Friday was a day of disruption. Protesters wreaked havoc on New York City subways, the group vandalizing turnstile station walls and buses to protest police crackdown on turnstile jumping. The demonstrations, led by a group calling itself the FTP Coalition, posted this video a day ahead of the protest, calling for disorderly conduct directed at police officers.
The Police 3 is coming, J31, right here in New York City. We encourage you to link up with your friends, your family, and think of the ways you can move in infinity to build and on J31 all day long.
The protesters linking arms and hoisting signs that are so profane we can't show them on TV. The demonstration leading to at least 13 arrests and 11 court summonses. Many saying that the demonstrations in New York City are a result of income inequality. In fact, New York City and Los Angeles are two of the biggest cities in the U.S. that are experiencing the largest gaps between the haves and the have-nots. Currently, the New York MTA receives more than $1.4 billion annually from the Federal Transit Administration, which go toward funding various capital improvement projects, including subways, buses, and the Long Island Railroad. But public transportation systems have long been plagued with problems, including numerous delays, failing infrastructure, and safety concerns. Just last month, the MTA pulled nearly 300 brand new subway cars for safety reasons after the doors opened on moving trains in at least 2 incidents. And last June, a mother was killed when she fell tumbling down the stairs onto the subway platform. She was hauling her baby in a stroller down the stairs of a subway station because the station, like so many others, did not have an elevator.
When Jim Mitchell was a contract psychologist for the CIA, he waterboarded Khalid Sheikh Mohammed 183 times. On Tuesday, with Mohammed sitting just meters away, Mitchell testified at the 9/11 pretrial hearing. Mitchell said his job as interrogator was to make suspected al-Qaeda members talk.
The fact that people are being held in isolation for years, incommunicado from their families, told that they're going to die there, and lack all ordinary protections of a person in prison is outrageous.
Mitchell said the Bush administration pressured the CIA and the FBI to do anything and everything to prevent future attacks. He said the CIA persuaded him first to take on the case of Abu Zubaydah, and that his work with other detainees, including Mohammed, only grew with time. Human rights groups say the statements detainees gave to both the CIA and later the FBI were given under duress and never should be used as evidence in a trial. Mitchell testified he knew defense lawyers are trying to keep FBI statements out of this case, but he chose to show up for the sake of the 9/11 victims and their families.
University and college students are back in the classroom this week for the winter term, and in Ontario, some have returned to new free speech policies mandated in August by the provincial government. Premier Doug Ford said colleges and universities had until January 1st to impose a policy or else face funding cuts. So did the schools meet this deadline, and do they think their policies will be effective? Tell us a bit about it.
Sure. We were asked by the provincial government a few months ago to establish a freedom of speech policy for all post-secondary institutions. The colleges do a lot of work together as a system and felt that it would be in the best interests of everybody if there was some consistency in our policies. So we put together a team of experts, some academics from our senior leadership team, some student service representatives, representative from the College Student Alliance that represent 14 of our campuses for students, legal, and had a series of discussions and then put a draft policy statement together that then went to our presidents for review.
And what is the, if I could follow up, Ms. Franklin, what is the aim of the policy, and sort of what is the challenge in crafting one that, still allows for free speech, but makes sure, that addresses, I guess, concerns around hate speech?
Sure. Well, in all honesty, it wasn't that challenging to do because we were able to build on work that had been done by others. The University of Chicago has a very good policy that's been in place for a while, is very well regarded. The University of Toronto has a policy that's been in place for 25 years. Yale has a policy in place. So we were able to draw on some good data and research there. And also, it was a pretty clear line of sight to us what had to be done. Obviously, the most important thing we had to say was that colleges are institutes of inquiry, that freedom of speech has to be an important philosophy of post-secondary institutions, and our policy would have to absolutely indicate that we would not shield people from opposing views they disagreed with, and that ability to see other points of view is critical to creative thinking. At the